Hi guys and girls. So I thought I'd do a few videos whilst in isolation, just to give people a few things to practice at home, or just a few things to watch to sort of give you a little bit better knowledge on your own golf swing. Maybe there's a few things in there that you feel like you need to work on. So take a look and enjoy. Okay, so what we're going to see from that right elbow in the backswing, or your trail elbow. So as we go into the backswing, we want to try and make sure that we've not got a pulling up of the club. Golf club works on opposite reactions. So really we want to be keeping a bit of pressure, if anything, slightly outwards. Now to do that, we've got to make sure that the takeaway is in a good place. It's one of the reasons why I don't particularly like setting the club too early for a lot of my golfers. But the right elbow is going to work from a good takeaway, or from a one-piece takeaway, what I like. The right elbow is going to simply work from here, and now I'm going to do this without any rotation, just out in front of me, okay? So it's going to work from a good position with that right arm, from a good takeaway from here, okay? So that would be no movement in my arms, okay? So that's just my body movement, okay? So the next step after that takeaway is then for the right elbow to fold and move to my right shoulder. So then if I now rotate, I get that into that position. So if I do that again from this angle, if I go hinge and move to my right shoulder whilst keeping my left arm straight, okay, so you can see that that's my right shoulder just in line, okay. From there, if I now rotate, that then gets that club into a good plane and it gets everything out in front of me. So the right elbow will come off the rib cage, not behind your rib cage. So that's one that is unbelievably common. Again, I think it stems from starting golf. I think everyone sees, or a lot of people see, understandably, obviously, as the golf club goes back, it creates a circle, right? So you want to kind of just create a circle, and then the elbow just folds behind, arm gets pretty bent. You see you're pulling the club up. We want to try and maintain some structure. So to do that, and so structure being the width of the arc. So ideally, we want to try and keep a bit of pressure down and outwards. So as I'm going back, I'm pushing that way to get the club to go up that way. Okay, so I'm pushing down in the hand. That's where my hinge comes from. It's not from a pulling. That's going to be too much bicep movement and pulling up. So think I'm pushing down ever so slightly and out, and that then creates that position. So that right arm should feel as though all it does is, after a takeaway, remember, after a takeaway, it's going to feel as though it's hinging, okay? So that's when we've talked about in other videos, club setting on the wrist angle. So setting on the angle that we've had with the shaft at the start. That's the wrist set. We get the wrist set, okay? A little bit of bend in the right elbow, and then the right rib cage will come off. The right arm will come off the right side of the rib cage, and it will feel like that, okay? It will line up directly in front of that right shoulder, so that will feel there, okay? Now from that position, when I add the turn, you can then see how the club then can stay much more on plane. And because it's in front of me and I'm not into that pulling, I'm not going to have any problems with an overswing or getting the club setting too far. Because again, all the time that you're pulling up and pulling the club in, there's going to be so many issues at the top of the backswing, and there's going to be hardly any structure. We need out to make sure everything's supported, so we get everything in the right place. So again, it's just after the takeaway, it's then a wrist hinge set from there, then that gets that club top of the backswing into the right position. Okay, now as I said, it's very, very important, because if you get that club getting behind you, you're going to see either the drop and it's just too much of a drop. So top of the backswing, right elbow getting too far behind, and it's in almost like a weak position. So from there, you're just going to start too much upper body, and then that's where you then get a little bit of an over the top. It's so important to keep everything in the right place. A good feeling, there's a few good ones out there. I think David Ledbetter was one who sort of said balancing dinner plates. It's a good feeling to have. Again, get that out in front of you. Drinking a pint, okay, and then balancing the pint. Think about it maybe that way. Might be quite relevant for isolation. So from here, drinking a pint, balance a pint, okay, and balance that pint just in front of that right shoulder. So there, drink a pint, balance a pint, quite like that. So into that position, and then that keeps everything out in front of you, keeps the width of the arc, keeps you. It's great for your actual swing arc width, and then it's really good just making sure that everything can then start in the right order, in the right sequence for the kinematic sequence on the way back down. Okay, so something to watch out for with that. Sometimes you aren't able to get a great right arm or trail arm mobility. So if you're, a good way to do that would be to go up against the wall, to try and get your lower part of your back up against the wall. That's an important bit for this. The lower part up against the wall, everything ideally up against the wall, but specifically the lower part. Elbow needs to be at shoulder height. From there, if you just rotate your arm, keeping your elbow at shoulder height, can you get all the way back just past 90 degrees is fine. That's all you need. You don't need to go much further than that. Can you get there without the pelvis coming forward? See, a lot of people get to about this point and then there. So also a lot of people would say, for example, if they struggle to put their seatbelt on with the right hand, if that's something that you do, then this might physically be something you're not able to do. And that's where we then cover something else in a different video. But physically it can be quite an important one just to make sure that you are actually able to do this. So do that little test, see if this is something that you're going to be able to do. I think a lot of people are able to do it. I think a lot of people struggle more with that. I mean, that's physically harder to do than that for me. So I think that it's a lot. I think that is a much harder one to do. I think that is quite obviously the one that most people get into. That's the one that people should be getting into, and I personally think that's a lot easier to do physically. But just check it. Just see if you do have that slight limitation. Hopefully, there's something in there that you can practice at home, or at least it's just reinforcing what you already know. Or hopefully you are, when you come out of isolation, you're able to get working on it at the range. So thanks for watching, and look after yourselves.